You're watching UATV News. My name is Inna Kosinska. Good evening. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy met with President of Moldova Maia Sandu. During the talks in Kyiv, they discussed security issues focused on challenges and threats affecting both national and regional security. They've also stated that they would continue to work for further integration of the two countries into the European Union. At the end of the meeting, Maia Sandu invited her Ukrainian colleague to pay an official visit to Moldova.
We exchanged views on our next steps regarding Transnistria, given Ukraine's mediating role in 5+2 format. I would like to emphasize that Ukraine's position on the Transnistrian conflict settlement is unchanged. We firmly support the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Moldova within its internationally recognized borders.
We decided to create a Council of Presidents of the Republic of Moldova and Ukraine, as well as a new format of high-level cooperation. This mechanism of constant interaction will help us in developing policies and strategies. This will help to resolve issues of the bilateral agenda, as well as monitor the implementation of the signed agreements. The Republic of Moldova strongly and unconditionally supports the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine. 5,116 new COVID-19 cases confirmed in Ukraine over the past day. The daily rate of recovery stands almost 3 times higher, 15,951 patients. 184 deaths were recorded, with 1,093 hospitalized. Among the leaders by the daily growth are Kyiv, Poltava, Zaporizhia and Odessa regions. People who return from the temporarily occupied territories will no longer have to self-isolate. They will only have to provide a negative COVID test. According to the Ministry of Health, all checkpoints in Donetsk, Luhansk and Kherson regions will be equipped with rapid testing points.
The rapid antigen test services for Ukrainian citizens will be free of charge. Centralized procurement of tests will be held at public expense. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health signed another distribution order, 1.8 million tests, which are already at the driveway to the regional health departments.
Not everyone supports the new quarantine rules. Some cafes continue working and Ukrainians neglect wearing face masks and distancing. Our correspondent got to know how many violators were caught by the police in the first 4 days of the enforced quarantine.
Fitness centers, swimming pools, non-food markets, as well as the catering establishments and schools, all of them are closed for 2 weeks. Although supermarkets remain working, some items are not available for sale. During quarantine, Ukrainians can buy food, medicine, personal hygiene products, medicines, animal feed and veterinary drugs at supermarkets. However, other products cannot be bought here. In Dnipro, during the first 4 days of strict quarantine, the police issued almost 300 notices on administrative offense. Most violations concern the absence of face masks.
These protocols will be sent to court. The police usually carry out preventive work to clarify the rules of the quarantine. However, administrative materials are compiled in relation to cross-violators.
Raids are also held in the Donetsk region. More than 40 mobile groups are in search of violators.
Of the past 2 days, the police have issued 55 administrative protocols. In addition, control of the mask regime, whether it is kept or not by citizens in public places and transport, has been carried out. More than 5,000 restriction orders have been issued as well.
In Kherson, officers of the so-called COVID patrol are keeping order.
Law enforcers check shops as well as cafes, passenger transport, conduct explanatory and preventive work with trade representatives as well as with citizens. Since the introduction of quarantine restrictions, the police of Kherson region issued 5,323 administrative protocols.
In Kharkiv, skating rinks and children's attractions work in compliance with all quarantine regulations, unlike some entrepreneurs who ignored the new rules.
26 protocols were issued against managers and employees of business entities and others. 107 of them concern the fact of the stay of citizens without personal protective equipment in public areas, 25 for the stay of citizens without mask in public transport.
Large gatherings have been observed in the center of Lviv recently. A Christmas market works there now. However, compared to the past winter, less people visited, locals say.
There were fewer people now because of the quarantine. The sit-in places were taken away and accordingly there were even fewer people. People do not have a place to eat. People come, they ask where they can eat. We answer that because of the quarantine there are no sit-in places and we can pack the food in a box.
Since the beginning of quarantine, police officers all over the country have already drawn up thousands of administrative offense notices, reported by Nick Starkov, Artem Holub, UATV News.
The so-called utility riots are recorded throughout Ukraine. Dissatisfied with the rise in gas and electricity prices, people went to the streets and even blocked the roads. The president intervened in the situation and instructed the government to resolve the issue of tariffs. But experts say that Ukrainians hurried to express their anger. My colleagues have also studied the issue.
Poltava, Mykolaiv, Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Odessa, Kharkiv. A wave of protests covered several regions of Ukraine at once. People are dissatisfied with the increase in gas and electricity tariffs. In Melitopol, about 1,000 people gathered near the city hall, and in Kharkiv region, people protested in several cities at once. Two highways were blocked, the Kyiv and Simferopol ones. We want to address the government, the city authorities, the Kharkiv gas enterprise, and tell them that we are against the rise in prices. Gas delivery price should be cancelled. One should not touch the prices on water, on electricity and everything. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy instructed the government to resolve the issue of gas tariffs for the population. Gas tariffs for the population should be normal. The gas price is growing on the market due to some conditions and other reasons that have happened in Europe, and we cannot afford an increase in prices for our citizens. But the experts are absolutely sure that Ukrainians became angry too early. After all, no one has yet received payments with new prices for gas and electricity. It is important to take into consideration the fact that there are no bills yet. I understand that protests could start when payments appear. Therefore, the protests that are held now are very likely to be organized artificially. Head of the Sluga Narodu parliamentary faction, David Arachamia, said that the majority has its own anti-crisis plan. He confirmed the MP's readiness to take decisions at any time. The main thing, he said, is to figure out how justified the increase in tariffs is and how to protect people in this situation. Reported by Nick Starkov, Inna Mazurkevich, UATV News.
Water activities in winter. In Kherson, outdoor enthusiasts are engaged in kayaking. Cold rivers do not stop them. As long as the temperature is above zero, there is no need to break the ice. More on winter kayaking in the following report.
Fans of winter sailing get to the gathering place on a launch. 3 years ago, it was necessary to break the ice on the rivers, Vitaly says. The rivers were freezing. We were all waiting for spring until everything melts. The experienced guys told us that there was an icy farther on the river. We decided to try and we really liked it. Before the start, the participants get the instructions. You hold it with your hand, the other holds a paddle, like in a ring. You should rotate freely. You just row and turn. One needs warm clothes and waterproof capes. Active rowing will keep you warm, instructors say, and mind hands as they are the most vulnerable. As soon as you sit down and start to paddle, you feel warm. You want to take your clothes off. People come to us dressed in a jacket and a fur coat. They think it will be cold, but as soon as they sit down, they row a bit and take off their coats. The winter boat trip lasts up to 3 hours. The instructors create new routes every time. In winter it is even more convenient because there are no motorboats and you can enjoy nature, and the birds are singing now. The eagle has just flown by. They are in a roadbook. Every year more and more people go in for winter sailing. They say it is the best anti-stress activity. Reported by Nick Starkov, Yanina Lebedeva, UATV News.
The ancient didgeridoo and a modern handpan. The Kharkiv family collects musical instruments of different peoples. The couple has been traveling around the world for 10 years. And they found not just exhibits. Musicians learn new techniques and teach others.
Didgeridoo is among the oldest musical instruments. It's made of eucalyptus. Long time ago, Australian Aborigines used it to perform ritual motifs, and only men were allowed to play it. Now, both women and children master the art of circular breathing, the technique that is necessary to play didgeridoo.
This is a certain sequence of inhales and exhales, so that the sound of the instrument itself is not interrupted. It means the sound comes due to the vibration of the instrument. You need to make yourself inhale in a certain way to not interrupt the sound.
The Filipenkos have collected hundreds of ethnical musical instruments, mainly drums. All of them are handmade. They're ones made of ceramics, plastics, animal skins and even river fish. It's the fish skin here on top. As for this fish skin, it's interesting because it's harder to expose it to moist. It is stronger than the regular leather. You can take it outdoor and the sound is interesting, a kind of deep bass. Ilya heard the sound of a jamba drum for the first time 20 years ago in Crimea, and in Turkey he learned how to play it. In search of one of a kind, he traveled around India, Egypt, Africa and other Asian countries. Now he shares his skills with his students. Ten-year-old Vanya is the youngest student in the studio. The boy plays the ceramic to hold a drum, picking the bit attuned to his mood. If you don't want anything, then it's something like... And if you are joyful and happy, it can be something fast. An instrument resembling a flying saucer shape is called a handpan. This item was handmade in Ukraine. Having been invented 20 years ago in Switzerland, it has mind-focusing and meditative sound. Reported by Nick Starkov, Natalia Belokudra, Andriy Domovoy, UATV News.
Comfortable, safe and modern, Kyiv is one of the best cities in the world for remote work. Ukraine's capital is on the 20th place of the international Big 7 travel rating. In total, there are 50 cities in it. The compilers of the rating evaluated the availability of the internet, co-workings, infrastructure, security level and the cost of housing and food. That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Thank you for staying with UATV channel. Goodbye.